Hi, I'm Colin from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover on the Elddis Autoquest CV40, which is a 2020 model. So as we walk around the vehicle, the first main point you come to is your LPG. So it's a 25 litre underslung tank on the Autoquest CV range. So what you would do is you'd go to your local filling station that sells LPG. It's a bayonet fitting. The fitting would clip on and then twist the front, pull the trigger back and then press the button on the pump until it stops filling. Once it's full, it won't take any more, so these will tend to take about £15 from empty and they'll last quite a while. And then below you've got your two taps, so you've got anything you've put down a plug hole. This is your waste water, so you just open and drain off. And then on this side you've got your fresh water drain. So if you've taken on contaminated water or you're doing the winterize, leaving no water on board, you just open this up and drain the water out. Very important that you drain all the water off in the winter, and you'd open this one, and then some other taps inside the vehicle, which I'll show you when we get inside. To fill with water, you get the key, just a little small key on there, hose it to there, slide that up, and you'd put a hose pipe in there until it was to overflow, until you're happy you've got enough water on board. You will need some hose pipe ends because it's just a brass tap on most sites, so you'll need the screw-on valve and you'll need some hose lock ends to connect to the tap to fill with water. Coming further down, you've got your toilet, so this is where the round key comes into play. This opens this lock. And then there's a magnet which connects to the side of the van. Ensure that the blade on the bottom bowl of the toilet is closed and you'll be able to lift, slide out. Got some wheels so you can drag it to your waste disposal point, which is normally behind or beside your toilet and shower room block on site. Then you would remove the cap, press the button and tip to 90 degrees, tip it all out. Once you've tipped it out, there's normally a tap there, put some water in, give it a rinse and tip out again. And then if you're using the liquid form, which is either the blue or the green, a cap full of liquid into here, it's good to go back into the vehicle. If you're using the tablets, which is the new form, you put a pint of water in, drop a tablet into here, that'll break down into the liquid in the sachet, and then you just pop that back in the vehicle and it's good to be used again. Here you've got your mains connectivity points, so you get your hooker bleed, lift the collar, lift the flap and slide it on there. Always hook the vehicle first, then the sight, and obviously do it in reverse because we wouldn't want you walking around with a faulty lead in your hand. Should it ever become broken, you'd want to get electric shock, or should it be wet, we wouldn't want you to get that electric shock. Come around to the back of the vehicle, you've got your high level brake light with reverse camera. Open your doors to 90 degrees, you just push this button in here and then they'll stay on the stoppers, so they'll not affect the lights on both sides. And you've got some storage under here, so there's your hookup lead. And then coming round to the passenger side of the vehicle, got a fly screen on the habitation door, electric step which will automatically retract when the engine started, but the button's just here so you can gain access to the vehicle. And on the door you've got your diesel, which opens with the main ignition key so you can fill with fuel. And then below you, because it's a new Euro 6 engine, diesel engine, and they're quite clean, they do take AdBlue. This is a 19 litre tank, and you'll get a light on that becomes on between the temperature and fuel gauge. Simply, as soon as the light comes on, it looks like an exhaust light. Top it up with AdBlue. You can buy it in the barrels, or you can buy it on the pumps. If you weren't to top it up and allow it to go drive AdBlue, the engine won't start, and if it goes too low, it'll go into limp mode, which is 15 mph max speed, just to protect the engine. So once the light comes on, if you do, just top it up. And then opening the passenger door, just here you've got your tyre pressures. So you've got 5.5 bar all round, which is 79.5 psi. Underneath the passenger seat is where the jack and the brace and torn eye lives in this toolkit. Underneath the floor on the Ducato is where the engine battery lives. Bonnet release is just on the side, and if we have a quick look underneath the bonnet, I'll point out all the bits and pieces you want to know. So to the left hand side you've got all your fluids. So you've got your screen wash. This lifts off and gives you access to your power steering fluid and your radiator coolant. You've got your brake fluid, you've got your oil dipstick and filler. You've got your paint code here on this sticker should you ever need it, Grigio Ferrero, which is just a grey. You've got an earth here for giving or receiving a jump start, and then if you just put your key in here and lift this flap up, you've got your positive for giving or receiving a jump start. And then here is your weight plate, so it's 3.5 ton gross vehicle weight. If you were to put a tow bar on and tow with this, you can't exceed a train weight of 5.5 tons. So that's the motorhome, and whatever you're towing can't exceed 5.5 ton. So when you come into the vehicle, just above the passenger seat is where all your controls are. So you have your main 12 volt panel. So depending if you're hooked up or not, you'll have 240 volt. If not, you will just have 12 volt off your leisure battery. So you can turn the vehicle on and off here. So this is your master switch. Then next to it you have your pump. So make sure you've got enough water on board to turn the pump on. If you've got no water on board, then obviously don't have the pump on because you'll burn the pump out. And then below you've got your master switch for your interior lights, which then are all individually switched around the van. And you've got your owner light, which is the light outside. These two switches here give you a reading of your leisure battery reading and your fresh water, so you can check how much fresh water is in the tank at any time before you turn the pump on. Got a master light for here, so just an entrance light. This tells you how much gas is in that 25 litre underslung gas tank. So you can just turn that on and off. So it's showing green there. It would go to red if it was low. And then for your heating and hot water, so it's all by wheel. So at the top you've got your hot water, at the bottom you've got your heating. So what you do is scroll through. So you've got 1 kilowatt. So one wiggly line is 1 kilowatt of electric on 240 volt. You've got 2 kilowatts of electric.
Right in the morning. Thanks very much, Steve.
So you can use that on most sites throughout the UK. 1 kilowatt you may have to use abroad, just depending on what current they give you through the hooker bleeds with the ampage. You've got the gas flame on its own, so if you're wild camping and you've got no electric hookup, you would have to heat the water and the vehicle off gas. So this is heating the water off gas at the top. Then you've got gas and 1 kilowatt and gas and 2 kilowatts. So you'd more than less use gas and 2 kilowatts in the winter months, or should you be in desperate need of water. Obviously both sources together will reduce the time it takes to heat the water drastically, so you'll probably get hot water between 7 to 10 minutes on gas and electric. And below you've got exactly the same sources, so I'll just run through them again. But this is your heating. So you've got 1 kilowatt of electric, which is one wiggly line, 2 kilowatts of electric, 3 kilowatts of electric on mains 240 volt electric hookup, gas on its own if you're wild camping, so this would be how you heat the vehicle, and then gas and 2 kilowatts of electric. So if you were using it in the winter and it was cold and you wanted to boost the heating for 20 minutes when you arrive at site, put it on gas and electric together, and then what you can do is, once the vehicle's to temperature after 15-20 minutes, then just turn it back to electric and it will continue to heat the vehicle, and it's obviously just give it that boost, so it will reduce the time on both sources. You've got a plus and a minus, so in the middle is about 15 degrees, all the way at the top is 30 degrees, which is the maximum temperature of heating the vehicle. Should you get a warning triangle down the side, or should I say an exclamation mark, a red one down the side, whatever's failed, so say it was the heating, you would press the heating and the plus button together, press and hold until that little mark there was to erase itself, and again you do the same with the water, and this is how you'd reset the panel. But make sure once you've had the heating on, you're turning everything off like so, so show no sources. Turn everything off and allow it to go, the fans to go silent on the heating before you turn the master switch off. Otherwise you can fail the boiler and you'll get that exclamation mark where you'd have to press whatever's failed and the button together. So press and hold until you eliminate the red exclamation mark. So in your kitchen area, on the side you've got a pull-up worktop with just some extra space, and then to get this down you just pull these away from it. So do this one and that one and it'll fold back down. You've got a plug here, so you've got a 3-pin socket on electric hookup, and then you've got 3 storage drawers, and there's one underneath it. Storage here, and you've got some gas isolation taps at the bottom, so you can isolate your appliance. So you've got your cooker, your water heater and your boiler there. And then for cooking facilities you've got 3 gas rings. 1, 2 and 3. So you've got 3 gas rings which are all lit there. So if you've had them on for any length of time, allow it to cool before you put your glass lid down. Then below you've got your oven, and above you've got a grill. Underneath there is where you'll have your large storage drawer, and below this is where your winter drain tap is for your boiler. So just under here, this here is your boiler drain down tap. So it's very important that you drain your boiler down as well as open the fresh and the waste from outside. Open all the taps within the vehicle and remove your shower head from the hose just to eliminate any water from coiling up in there. So what you do with the boiler is you just, if it's pointing to the front, it's holding water. It's holding 10 litres of water at any one time. Obviously you don't want the water to freeze in there, because if it does it will split that boiler, and that boiler is very expensive to replace and isn't covered under any warranty. So what you do is you just turn it and you'll hear the water drain directly out underneath the chassis, come in with no power on and just drop that out. So from about October time you want to start draining the vehicle off if you're not using it. Obviously if you're using it and the hot water's on, you can keep it on, the water on board, but say you're only using it at a weekend at a time, I would still recommend draining it down and not leaving it, because if the temperatures drop when the vehicle's stood on the driveway or in storage and the water freezes, it means you're going to have a costly repair. So like I says, just tip it that way, leave it open during the time you've got it in storage, then when you're ready to reuse it, shut all the taps in the vehicle, shut the fresh and the waste outside, shut the boiler, fill with water, come in, put the mains power on, put the pump on, go to the cold side of the tap first, you'll get automatic cold water. Go to the hot side, it'll cough, splutter, make all sorts of noises, and all that's doing is it's pushing the air out of the boiler and filling with cold water, and then obviously you can put the hot water on and make the water warm. Above you've got a Russell Hobbs microwave, so the plug's just in here, and there's a plate rack. So this is just a mains electric microwave, it's 800 watt. You've got to be hooked up for this to work. And then next to it you've got your Fetford 12 volt compressor fridge. So this is just a compressor, so it just works off 12 volts, so it'll work if you're wild camping or you're hooked up, obviously, because you can downgrade 240 to 12 volt, but you can't make 12 volt 240. So you turn on and off here. You've got a little moon there, which is just night mode. It'll just turn the decibels of the fridge down slightly so it's not as loud, and then you've got your temperature at the top. So what I would recommend is, when you're winterizing as well, if you clean your fridge out, take everything out, give it a wipe. Last thing you want to do is shut the door, as it will trap the air in there. So there's a little blue clip on there. You just put that in the middle and then just rest the door in. It'll allow air circulation in and out of the fridge. So to operate your toilet, what you need to do is you need to make sure the pump's on first, because you've got an electric flush which is from the freshwater tank. So you press and you flush the toilet. Then what you'll do is, there's a grey lever which is called the blade. It opens the blade, so always flush first and then slide to the right, which opens it. Allows everything into the cassette, so you'd use it with the blade in the open position like it is now. Then after you've used the toilet, obviously you'd flush and you'd slide to the left, which shuts the blade, which isolates the cassette and allows you to get it out from outside the vehicle should it be full. You'll get a light on here by the diagram of the cassette when the cassette is full. Then in the washroom, your plug is just a push plug, so it's a push fit. You've got your shower hose there, so it doubles up as a hand basin. So you've got the hose, or you can put it up here and it can be used as the shower. You've got a showering curtain which goes round the track there, just stops the toilet and the door from getting wet. And then you've got a handy toiletry cabinet, and then above got a black outline for on an evening on the skylight and the fly screen. And then you can pinch these both together and push the hatch up for ventilation, or you can have one end down or one side down depending on which way the wind's blowing, but you can still get ventilation if you've used the toilet or the shower. Behind the bathroom there's a little cupboard here, which is where the doorway is for your freestanding table. You've got your lights, you've got a TV bracket, so you lift the little key ring up here and you'll be able to slide that out. And then always make sure it's stored away before you travel. And you've got a 12 volt, a telepoint and two 240 sockets when hooked up. All your little reading lights are individually switched, so you can have them on and off depending on which ones you want on. You've got a max view fitted aerial on this one, so you can't move the aerial at all, but you can use the wheel, which will min and max the signal should it be too weak or too strong. And you've got storage up here and up here. Now at the back of the vehicle, to make your back lounge into a bed, you'd simply lift and slide the lats out. And then what you'll need to do is just use the back rests in the middle on both sides. It is quite a tight fit for them, but that's what you want when making a bed. You don't want them to move. And then what I'd advise is you turn the other two upside down as well, and then you'll get a flatter surface. You can unclip these by press studs and pop them in the carb when not in use. Underneath your driver's side back lounge seat is where your leisure battery lives. So your leisure battery lives in here, and on the end of this there's a 15 amp fuse, which is just here, which is your main battery fuse. So if you've got any problems with getting 12 volt and you've checked your other fuses in the vehicle, check your main battery fuse, and your leisure battery lives here. Open this styled skylight, you just pull your weight down on it, slide it along, and then always make sure all your skylights and windows are closed before you start driving. And make sure, just give it a little tap on the top, make sure these arms are in the lugs of the plastic window, and you've got a fly screen and a blackout blind. To open the windows, simply release the levers, and then you've got two black wheels on the window there, which you just tighten. You tighten these to keep them out. tighten them, the windows stay out when you tighten the other one as well, like so, and then release them. And bring the window in, make sure it's securely fastened, and you've got a blackout blind and a fly screen. So underneath your dinette seat at the front on the CV40, you've got your electrical unit. So you've got all your fuses on 12 volt at the bottom. So I would carry some spare blade fuses just to be safe. If one does go, you can just pick it out and put another one in. And then you've got all your trips just like in a house. So if you trip the sockets, the boiler, the water heater, the fridge or the charger trips, all the RCD trips, you can just put it back up. If you trip the van out and it's not here, you may have tripped the site. Underneath there's a little toggle switch. So this vehicle is fitted with the winter pack, which is probes in the tank. So if it's going to freeze overnight, put the switch on. What it'll do is it'll put a bit of 12 volt through the probes, which goes through the water and stops the water from freezing in the tanks underneath the chassis. You'll notice your water pumps behind here as well. So you've got your wheel water pump and filter, and that's all underneath your back travelling seats. So to make the third additional bed, what you need to do is you use the table. So lift to 90 degrees, lift the table off the top bar, and it'll go onto the bar below, like so. But then what you'll have to do is you'll have to fold the leg. So there's a little button here, and then you just fold that leg in. That'll slide down there, and then you, like so, make sure both ends are clipped on. And then what you'll do is there's an infill cushion in the wardrobe, which fits in there. You've obviously got to spin the carb seat as well, so spin the front driver's seat. And then there's a mattress topper, which will go on top. And there you have the third additional seat, bed should I say. So now in the cab, to the right of the driver you have your handbrake, and then you've got your electric windows and electric mirror adjustment. So you use the joystick here, and you've got two positions on each. So you've got the big mirror and the bottom, which is your blind spot. On the dash you've got your headlight adjustment and rear fog lights. Then on the end of the wiper stalk you've got your trip computer, which goes through this screen here, and it'll tell you your instant and average consumption, your range, so how much fuel's left in your tank, your average speed, your travelling times, and how many miles you've travelled from the computer being reset. Lights and indicators, all your steering wheel controls. So you've got mute, volume. This will scroll through your contacts, your media, or your radio stations. Then you've got hands free. And then at the bottom you've got off in the middle, up to the top for cruise control, which brings on the green light here, and then you get your desired speed and push the stalk up. To accelerate you'd push it up, and to decelerate you'd pull it down. If you've got to cancel it with a foot brake, or you can cancel it on the end of the stalk and resume it before the engine's turned off. So it'll only resume to the last speed before the engine was switched off. And then below you've got speed limiter, so you can push up slowly and it'll go up in ones, push and hold and it'll go up in fives. And then there is a kick down function, so if you press the accelerator to the floor, it will override the speed limiter to stop any collisions or accidents happening, as it's a safety feature. 6-speed manual gearbox, so you've got a permanent rear view camera when going forward, so it doesn't matter if you're in first or sixth gear, that's still on. And then you can go lift the collar into reverse and it'll bring on the rear view, so it looks further down the back of the van. So there's the back doors, but when you take it out of gear, that's just the far distance view. You've got ASR off, which is another word for anti-slip relief traction control, so you're turning that off. Got your hazards locking the doors. With it being a panel van, it locks every door, and you've got your heated mirrors. Got a USB for charging and a 12 volt for charging there. A lockable centre glove box, which has got a USB in here, which it tells you. And then you do have your temperature on the outside. Fan speed must be on at least 1 or more for the aircon to work. Distribution, so where you want the air to go to, face, feet or screen, and whether you're bringing fresh air in or you're recirculating air within the vehicle. Your head unit doesn't take a CD, but it does take a USB from here or Bluetooth. So you can press, you've got FM, AM and DAB radio by just pressing radio, and press 1 to 6 to save your favourite radio stations. Media is obviously USB or Bluetooth audio, and then below you've got phone, so you just go connect the phone, add phone. You want to find Uconnect on your phone. Make sure the pins match, press pair on your phone, and then it'll ask you if you want to sync your contacts. Just press allow, it'll download your phone book, and then it'll put all your contacts into here, so you can just scroll through and ring anyone that's saved in your phone book. And then above you've got a handy clipboard or you can pull this lever down and you can lock the jaws, and that can hold your phone, a sat nav or an iPad. The air conditioning does cool this box as well, so if it's on cold air you can have things in there for the summer like sweets, so you don't have to get up and down to the fridge when you're travelling. And then you've got another glove box which is just here. To black the carb out on an evening, you've got some silver screens which are just in the bag above the carb here. Which are internal blinds, so there'll be suction cups on there, and they'll stick on the side windows, so there'll be one for that window, one for the front, and one for this window. And that'd be how we'd black the carb out on an evening.